Woe is me. I'm so sad.
Juggernaut, why are you so blue? You're one of the strongest creatures in the MCU.
Well, Mystique, I have all this sweet and incredible 3D terrain to battle across. But when it comes time to smash Colossus, I've got nothing to throw at him from up here. No terrain to interact with. Oh, sweet Juggernaut, do not let this world's canvas limit your imagination, for I bring you Rooftop Scatter Terrain!
And this rolls off into another Marvel Crisis Protocol urban modern terrain build. Today is Rooftop Scatter Terrain. I really wanted to make this one quick, cheap, and easy. Everybody could do it. So I just took this old can, this was tomato paste, sized it up next to my pal Cyclops, and I saw kind of how tall it really should be. And I'm using for a stand of it just some paper straws. They'll take paint really well. They'll hold it up pretty good. I kind of messed around a little bit with popsicle sticks, craft sticks, different things like that. None of them really had a decent enough look that I was really into. So, take a pair of scissors and snip away at some paper straws. Saving the environment and crafting. But oh wait, that's too small. So, I'm just going to lay it out on my cutting mat, add a 1/2 inch to it, and snip it on down. I was just kind of using the X-Acto blade to mark it there because it just wasn't cutting well with it. There we go. Now I did go ahead, size it up. Again, perfect size. Didn't make it too over the top, too cartoony, but still made it to where it was like a decent elevation up over it. Gameplay I felt would still work out pretty well with this. It wouldn't get like out of the way and knocked over too easy. So next step is just to make up a bunch of these legs, and I made 6 of them. And I used, well, 4 of them. 6 was just going to be a little bit too much. There's a handful of ways that you can mark off and make sure that you have this kind of square going across the circle. I just used my cutting mat. I lined it up the best that I could, eyeballed it up with the grid, and honestly the cutting mat is one of the best investments that anybody can make. Now I did bring back my old friend glue gun. I kind of stepped away from this for quite a bit in terrain building, and to a point where I actually lost my hot glue gun when I moved, but we found it. All has been saved. So I just put a dibbly-dabbly of hot glue inside the can, one on top of the straw, and insert that bad boy down inside. Repeat those steps for all of them, add a little bit more securing hot glue on it, and make the biggest mess that you possibly can with all those spider webs. But there we go in the end. It stands pretty sturdy. It's not 100% straight, but now we got to add in those supports. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Last part we do, snip them all down, doot doot, and there we go. Now they did get kind of crushed when I was using the scissors, so I'd take a paintbrush handle, run it into each one of them, and it just reaffirms them round. My goal was to have it have this like round steel or tubing look to it. Primed it all up and hit it up with intermittent gray. I use this for a lot of different parts of my different builds, so this way it stays cohesive, has the same feel and vibe going across all of them. I'm going to give a really smooth, thin coat going across everything, 100% coverage. Well, maybe 99.8%. Now I'm going to take this light gray, really close to getting into the whites, and just give some highlights on the ribbing. I really thought this was a cool, quick project. I really didn't know how I was going to build it going into. I just knew that I wanted to do it. And there we are. are all finished up. I'll learn how to talk by the end of this video. I promise. Now, I thought this really could use some graffiti. I really love the X-Men. That's the main army that I built. So I thought, what better way than the FOH? Some pretty nice graffiti. Now, I used this paint marker before on the streets, and it ran a lot as soon as you press it down in. It had a big blotch, and I was like, that'd be perfect for spray paint. But, no, it sucked. So I painted over it. And we're gonna go back over to the next part. This is gonna be the stairwell that goes up to the top of the building. And I knew I wanted it to be pretty thin, but I wanted it to still make sense that the character could still get out of it. So I cut some 3 pieces that were roughly the same size. I believe they are about 2 inches by 2 inches. And I tried to figure out the back. I wanted this to slant. I made a really thin piece to have a really aggressive slant, and that honestly just wasn't working. So I made a 1/2 inch piece there, and that worked perfect. So now I'm just going to line it up, make sure I have that all squared away, and I have to cut the angles into it. This is where I bring in my trusty ruler. After I set up where it's going to be on both pieces. This part here was another one really quick. This was a scrap box I had laying around. We actually were about to take it out into the recycling. And last minute, it's like, it looks pretty sturdy. I'm going to use it for this quick little build. And as you'll see here when I take the knife to it, really wasn't the best cardboard I could have done. Slid around a lot, it tore, nothing was clean on it. I actually did most of the cutting on this with scissors. I should have used something else for this. I should have used foam core, just something a little bit more rugged. This is just breaking up a lot, but I was gonna work through it. I was bound and determined to make it happen. Last thing I needed to do was to make that top piece that slanted down. The quickest and easiest way I could think of to do it was already have that marked out to the appropriate width because I was cutting it down from the other ones, and use the angle piece as a template, line it on up, mark it all up, cut it all out. Now we're down to one last step of the basic part of it, and that's the hot glue. Yes, our old friend hot glue making a real comeback here. I did make sure that I put the angle pieces on the inside, as I wanted it to be a little bit longer than wider, so I had a little bit more play area. And there's a lot of big nasty gaps. So what I thought was the smartest thing to do was to draw out a door. My thought was maybe cut out the door, maybe recess it, and it just, wasn't working. So I picked up a bunch of the scrap pieces of this brick that I had from cutting out the windows and doing some of the little trim on the building itself. And I just kind of laid it out, marked it out, and went along the way. Again, this cut's really easy and really nice with scissors. Get a little bit of product placement for a video that's probably going to have 100 views. And put a nice smooth little coat of super glue. This might get handled a little bit more than the buildings, knocked over, maybe a friend get a little overzealous and actually throw it at one of the characters. I don't know. It gets kind of crazy over here at game night. Using the white PVA glue, it's going to come off a little bit easier. I wasn't concerned with it with the buildings, but small pieces like this might fall a little bit more often. So, super glue holds it on really well, binds really well. Also, you can't use super glue on foam, which is what I was using on a lot of the buildings. But here we're using cardboard, so we do have that advantage. Cutting out all the sides, glue all the sides down. There you go. Piece by piece, filling in the gaps and making it blend in with the building itself. We're actually just about done with this one. Again, another really quick one. There it is. All finished up. We're going to move on to the sides, clean them all off. And a really handy trick is that this stuff cuts really clean when you go to just make a little bit of a shaving off of it. X-Acto knife works wonders on it. And I'm going to take a little piece here that I've cut out for the front, I'm going to mark off where I want the door, so I go a 1/4 inch in on each side, and I go 1.5 inches up. That gives me roughly like a 1-inch door, 1 1/4 inch door, and works pretty well, pretty realistic. So I take this cardstock for cleaning up all the trim now, gave it a nice clean edge so I can have a straight side on both ends. And I'm going to line it up on all the areas because just like the building, it wasn't sitting flush. I think I rushed too much of it. Maybe I went too overzealous with the idea of doing it quick and simple, and I created gaps. But that's okay because the building had the gaps. Building was cleaned up with these little trim pieces, so it's going to translate over really well if the stairwell up to the top has the same thing. Again, I put these on with super glue. It's going to hold it on there really quick, really easy, and it gets a pretty decent bind onto the plastic itself that is this brick. There we go. Again, this is all scrap pieces. As you saw looking at that cardstock, it was just a leftover piece I had in the pile from making the building. One of the last parts here is line up the edges. And when I got to this back piece, I thought it was best to take the trim and fold it so it fit a little bit more snugly over that. Looking back, maybe I should have done that on everything, but you know what? I'm not too dissatisfied with it. Now comes the actual door. I did take some black marker and trim the door around before I put this on, just because I didn't trust that I was going to get that 100% lined up. Maybe I'll go back later, throw a doorknob on there, but honestly, it fits the theme and the style of the building and all my minis themselves. Now I really wanted like some vent fan, so I looked around for some computer parts, remembered that I am not tech savvy in any way, shape, or form, so why would I have computer parts? And instead, I grabbed these little toppers to my kids' applesauce, and I did a terrible job priming it. Put that same intermittent gray on the outside, finished blacking off the inside, and treated this just like the water tower, taking that real light white gray, adding in some Here it is, all put together. Really nice, quick, simple scatter terrain. You could throw a little cone top onto that water tower, set it off just a little bit more, disguise a little bit more that it is a tomato paste or soup can, but maybe that's for a later day. For right now, I think it works out pretty well. And maybe for one of my next projects, I'll figure out how to put an outlet cover over that outlet, because yeah, it's pretty bad. It's not live. It's just pretty bad. Anyway, this is a quick, interactive scatter terrain that at least some of your characters can throw at another. As always, everybody who's made it to the end, thank you so much. These were incredibly quick. I think I did them in like 2 days, and it was only 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 5 minutes here, and I knocked them all out. When I did cover up the graffiti that I did, I took the opportunity to just put some of these posters up on that. I love how it turned out. It blends in so well with the whole thing. You know, they can move around from building to building, still work. It's all scraps, all complete scrap pieces. You can buy some pieces, make it look a little bit nicer, but the whole premise is there. The concept is still there. It can expand, you can grow on this. You can use kind of the same techniques and glue in air conditioners in the windows, power boxes on the side of the buildings. All quick, awesome little things that you can do. Check out some of the videos that we got here. You're going to have some fun with Marvel Crisis Protocol and other similar build videos. And I have the next video already planned out and things set and in motion for it. It's going to be a 48-hour challenge to build a Marvel Crisis Protocol Legion. There's a reason I'm doing 48-hour. I'll explain it when it comes over to it. Until next time, stay classy and abuchinanas. Social media, there's links. What the fuck? Links in the description. Check them out. Tiki-takis.